Hello everyone. Today I'll show you how to create your own Minecraft world in Blender. To begin, go to the Blender Kit website and click the Download Blender Kit button. After that, you'll be redirected to the page with this add-on. Download and activate it following the instructions. Once done, Blender will display a window where you can type Minecraft. You'll see models of mobs and blocks from Minecraft. We need the Minecraft terrain generator. Simply drag this icon as shown in the video. You will get several Minecraft chunks. Go to the Geometry Nodes tab. For convenience, I'll divide the screen into two main windows, one showing the world itself and the other showing geometry nodes. In the right-hand window, I change render chunks from 6 to 2 to speed up rendering. Now let's move to the settings. To remove text near the world, find the panel labeled Text in the right window, locate the node named String to Curves, and delete the text in the central field. Next, on the left, look for the panel labeled Terrain Height Map. Let's start with the Noise Texture node. Increasing the scale makes the terrain look as if there was a hailstorm, so it's better to keep this value close to 0. Other noise texture settings create similar changes. If you adjust the Add node, the world will either rise or fall. Increasing the value lowers the terrain, while decreasing it raises it. Next, there's the Color Ramp node. The white color controls the height, and the black controls the lowlands. Moving the black slider to the left reduces the amount of black and increases the white, making the world higher overall. If you move both sliders toward the middle, you'll see a strong contrast between high and low areas. Enabling contrast creates landforms like cliffs or floating islands. Experiment with this node to create interesting landscapes. Other settings also affect height. Adjust them to better understand their impact. Now let's move on to the Base Mesh Lines panel. The Multiply setting determines the number of blocks in a chunk. For example, setting it to 1 makes a chunk 1 by 1 block, 2 makes it 2 by 2, 3 makes it 3 by 3, and so on. I created 4 chunks, each 4 by 4 blocks, and here's the result. In regular Minecraft, one chunk is 16 by 16 blocks. You can create chunks as large as 32 by 32 blocks, but for accuracy, I recommend sticking to the Minecraft standard of 16 by 16 blocks. The Subtract node brings blocks closer to or farther from the center. The higher the value, the closer the blocks are to the center. The lower the value, the farther they are. The default value is 1. Using the Mesh Line node, you can move the world along different coordinates. You can adjust these settings, but it's better to leave them as they are. With the Offset setting, you can divide the world into horizontal layers. It looks interesting, but its practical application is unclear. Finally, the Instance on Points node changes the position of blocks. For example, rotating along the x-axis causes some blocks to rise and others to fall, giving the impression that the world is tilted. Adjusting the scale sliders divides the world vertically instead of horizontally, similar to the previous node. Next, we move on to the Tree node panel. The greater the node affects the number of trees. Increasing the lower node adds more trees, while increasing the upper node reduces their number. The Noise texture affects the distribution of trees, ensuring they don't appear in straight rows and columns, so it's best to leave this setting alone. Let's continue by exploring more tree-related settings. In the Tree node panel, there is an important option labeled Grid. This setting controls whether trees can appear outside the defined boundaries of your map. For the best results and to keep your terrain clean, I recommend leaving this setting as it is by default. Changing it might lead to trees appearing in unintended areas, which can disrupt the overall aesthetic of your world. The next node in this panel is Instance on Points, which behaves similarly to other nodes with the same name. This node has a rather subtle effect and tends to work closely with the nodes around it. Because of this, it's generally a good idea not to modify it unless you're experimenting with highly specific design goals. Another essential node here is distribute on points on faces, which directly impacts how trees are spaced on your terrain. If you set its value to 1, for example, trees will be placed very close to one another, creating dense forests. This can be useful if you want to simulate jungle-like environments. On the other hand, reducing the value will space the trees farther apart, which is ideal for creating sparser, park-like settings. Play around with this node to achieve the desired level of density for your forested areas. The Add node within this panel controls the position of trees across the map. Adjusting its value subtly shifts the placement of the trees. If you're aiming for a randomized or natural look, minor changes to this node can go a long way. Meanwhile, the Instance on Points node also influences the size of the trees themselves. Larger values will produce bigger trees, perfect for towering forests, while smaller values create more modest, shrub-like growths. Finally, the Set Position node offers additional control over the placement of trees. By tweaking this node, you can further refine the way trees are arranged in your scene, ensuring they complement the overall design of your terrain. Grass panel. Now let's dive into the grass panel, where we can add life to the ground level of our Minecraft-inspired world. To make the adjustments easier to see, I recommend temporarily hiding the trees. This gives you a clear view of how grass and flowers populate the landscape. Just like with trees, the greater the node controls the amount of grass on your terrain. Increasing this value adds more grass, covering the ground with a lush green layer. Reducing it does the opposite, resulting in a sparser, more barren look. The Noise Texture node influences how grass is distributed, ensuring that it doesn't appear in perfect, unnatural rows. For the most part, it's best to leave this node untouched unless you're deliberately aiming for a very stylized pattern. The Color Ramp node is where things get interesting. This node determines what type of vegetation will appear. For instance, white creates daisies, light gray produces dandelions, gray adds poppies, black represents plain grass. By adjusting the sliders within the Color Ramp node, you can control the ratio of flowers to grass. If you want a field full of flowers, move the darker sliders to the left to reduce the presence of grass. Alternatively, you can emphasize grass by minimizing the lighter colors. The Multiply node allows you to swap between flowers and grass more broadly. It essentially controls the dominance of either element, giving you an easy way to shift the overall look of your terrain. Moving on, the Instance on Points node affects the size of individual grass blades. A higher value creates larger, more prominent blades of grass, while a lower value produces smaller, subtler vegetation. This setting is great for fine-tuning the appearance of your grassy areas to match the scale and style of your world. Lastly, the Transform Geometry node controls the placement of grass across your terrain. This node is particularly useful for aligning grass with uneven or sloped surfaces, ensuring a seamless integration with the rest of your landscape. Experimenting with this setting can help you achieve a polished, natural look. And that's it. By following these steps, you can create your own Minecraft-inspired world in Blender. Let your creativity run wild and make something truly unique. I put a lot of effort into making this video, so your support means a lot to me. If you enjoyed it, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment. It will really motivate me to make more tutorials. If this video gets 500 likes, I'll show you how to change the biome to a desert, taiga, or any other type. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.